All right, well, let's get started. Good afternoon and welcome to the State of North Carolina Agency Meet and Greet series. My name is Andrea Bennett and I lead a program called Ed to NC, operated through the North Carolina Office of State and Human Resources. The main goal of this program is to excite, motivate, and encourage college students, alumni, and early career professionals into rewarding careers in state government. Thank you all for joining us here today, for this is day 2 of our series with the Department of Revenue. Before I hand it off to DOR, I have a few announcements, just a few. At the end of this meeting, I will be sending out a link to a very short survey and a follow-up email. Please take the time to complete it and give us your feedback. Also, if you are interested in registering for another session later this week or next week, I will provide that link in that email as well. Besides that, if you have any questions during the course of this presentation, please feel free to use the chat unless otherwise noted by our presenter. Without further ado, I present you all the Department of Revenue. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. My name is Heidi Nolta. I am the recruitment manager for the Department of Revenue. I'm going to give you a little bit about my background just because I'm always interested when I'm in your chair and trying to understand the presenter's point of view and their background and where they came from. And then I'm going to show you a few different PowerPoint / flyers / information and just walk you through a little bit more about the Department of Revenue. And then if you have any questions, you are more than welcome to either put them in the chat, if you want to unmute yourself. I'm very laid back, very casual, so any questions that come up, just please interrupt me, raise your hand, and I'm more than happy to answer your question. So to get started, again, my name is Heidi, and I actually used to work in the college setting. So I was a career advisor for a number of years, and then I kind of started working my way up that chain. I was an assistant director and then a director of career services and higher ed for several years. So my background is working with college students. So I love to work with y'all. So thanks for having me, because this is like my place. This is where I feel at home, is when I'm working with college students. I transitioned out of the college environment into government 6.5 years ago, and started in the position that I'm in now, which, like I said, is the recruitment manager for the agency. So what that basically means is I help the recruitment cycle from start to finish for all of our positions. So whether that's an internship, a part-time job, a full-time job, whatever the case may be, I am somehow involved in the hiring process, which is super, super exciting. I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about internships. I'm also going to talk to you about positions that are available to recent grads that might be of interest, as well as an event that we have coming up very soon to invite you to if it's something that you're interested in. So to get started, before we dive in, does anyone have any questions right now? Anything burning top of mind, you just got to know? Okay, so I am going to share my screen and we will get started on the first little piece of information here that I wanted to share, and that is why DOR. A little bit about why state government too, just in general. So again, I came from the private sector in higher ed and worked a lot of hours, anywhere from 50 to 60 on average, was very typical. I had my phone on me, if not my laptop, mostly at all times. And my work-life balance was off quite a bit, which is why I started to seek out other opportunities, hence state government, Department of Revenue. So a little bit about the Department of Revenue specifically is that we are able to fund for the schools, the state parks, the museums, all that stuff that you see out there about from North Carolina is funded through the Department of Revenue, which is really exciting. So we're the ones with the money, which is pretty cool to work at the place that has the money. So specifically about Department of Revenue. Of course, with all state agencies, like any other state agency, you're going to find that work-life balance. Generally speaking, people who work at Department of Revenue, no matter what their position is, don't work over a 40-hour work week, which is pretty impressive. In the private sector, that's obviously not the case for most positions. So that's something that I personally think is a huge benefit to working for the state, is just that work-life balance. We also, of course, have job stability. Very few times do you see a RIF, which is a reduction in force. So you kind of have that peace of mind that I appreciate. And then at Department of Revenue, we also have a lot of training as well. Regardless of the position, that's something that Department of Revenue really strives for, is that training, making that available to somebody if they're just starting off in their position or if they're developing into more of a management role. But we do offer a lot of training opportunities. So I am going to switch to a different slide here. If you'll just bear with me. Okay, so I know Andrea and Stephanie recognize this flyer, which is super exciting. It's something that we worked on in conjunction with OSHR, and it really speaks specifically to the Department of Revenue. There's our mission there on the left. So it's to fund public services, like I was saying before, of how we have the money. So to fund public services benefiting the people of North Carolina, we administer the tax laws and collect the taxes due in an impartial, consistent, secure, and efficient manner. And again, we fund the services for anything from the public safety, the school systems, the parks, the roads, you name it, we have that funding that's available for those other state agencies. The one thing that I think really sets Department of Revenue apart from maybe some of the other state agencies is we have a lot of advanced technology, which, coming again for me personally from the private sector, and I know a lot of our interns have had the same feedback, they really appreciate the fact that we are pretty advanced in our technology. We don't do a lot of the paperwork and papers and signing things and things like that. Most of our work, I'd say for most people, about 90% of it is all electronic, which is very nice when you work for a state agency, because sometimes that's not the case. So very happy with that. And then one thing that I wanted to touch on is that a lot of the degrees that we tend to hire our entry-level graduates out of tend to be business administration and accounting. Now, that's not to say by any means if you don't have a degree in business administration or accounting that there's no way you're going to work for the Department of Revenue. I'm not trying to discourage anyone at all. That's just more the common degrees that we see a lot of, because of course, with the Department of Revenue, we're working a lot with auditing and accounting and skill sets like that you would speak to a degree in business admin or in accounting. Also, another thing that we offer, much like other state agencies, is that we do have wellness programs available, reward and recognition programs. We offer a leadership speaker series on a monthly basis, which is pretty cool. And we've been able to continue that even with COVID and doing that virtually, and a diversity speaker series and a leadership speaker series, which is pretty rewarding for employees as well. We also do a lot of engaging activities for our employees. So we will do things like this summer, for example, we had a softball team, which was really cool. It brought people together, whether if you played softball or if you just came out to support the team. So we like to do fun things like that. In addition to community service is really big at DOR. Our secretary, Mr. Penny, is big on community service and giving back. So we have a lot of organized community service events. And then of course, if folks want to do the community service on their own, they're more than welcome to, but we do offer a lot of arranged community service opportunities as well. So I'm going to pause real quick just to make sure we don't have any questions before I keep moving. We're good, we're good, we're good. Going once, going twice?
We're good.
All right, cool. We will go on to a little bit more into our actual positions. So you can get a little taste for those. Give me 1 second to get over here. All right. So, like I was saying earlier, what we tend to hire for often is our auditor positions and then our revenue officer. So our revenue officers, tax auditors, and field auditors, those are the 3 most common positions that we hire for at Department of Revenue. We also, in addition to these 3 areas, if you will, we also have a very large IT department. So we're oftentimes hiring for IT positions as well. And then, of course, we have human resources, we have a marketing area, a public relations area, so on and so forth. But the ones I want to focus on right now are just these 3, because these are also 3 positions that we hire for we hire out of college from recent graduates as well. So obviously you can see here, but the revenue officer researches and evaluates taxpayer documents, assets, and records to determine best method of collection, to resolve tax liabilities, interaction with taxpayers, including education and collection. So for the revenue officers, those are positions that are hybrid, which means half in the office, half outside the office. The in the office portion of a revenue officer's position could be at any of our 11 service centers. So in addition to our headquarters, which is located in downtown Raleigh, we also have a service center in another part of Raleigh, but then we have 10 other service centers across the state. So anywhere from the west to the east, the north to the south, we're pretty spread out in most major cities within North Carolina. And with the revenue officer positions, again, those are hybrid. So a portion of the position can be done from home if the person prefers, and then the other portion of the position would be in the office. And then with the tax auditor and the field auditor, those 2 positions, generally speaking, will be most suitable for graduates from an accounting degree. However, we certainly have hired folks that have a finance degree or a business admin degree. The main components of these positions to remember is they require accounting hours. So the tax auditor, as you can see there, is 12 credit hours, whereas the field is 18. With the main difference between the 2, with the tax and the field, the easiest way to think of it is the field auditors are outside, where they're meeting with business owners, they're meeting with accountants who are responsible for businesses' books. So they're out of the office the majority of the time. Sometimes there is overnight travel as well that's involved with the field auditor position. So if you're somebody that likes to be out and about, you don't want to be in front of a computer all day long, the field auditor would probably speak to you a little bit more than the tax auditor. Whereas the tax auditor, it's a very similar position where you're examining the tax returns and the records to make sure that they're in compliance with all areas. And they are still interacting with those accountants, those business owners, attorneys even sometimes, but the majority of, or all of that work rather, is going to be done behind the desk, so that you're not going to be out in the field if you're a tax auditor, whereas with the field auditor, you're out in the field the majority of the time. Tax auditors and field auditors are both positions that can be done remotely, so neither require time to be in an office. If you're somebody that likes to be in an office and you want to be around people, completely fine. You're more than welcome to do that, but it's not a position that you would necessarily need to go into an office. With both the tax auditor and the field auditor, there is a 2-year training program. So the question that we get a lot, especially when we're at career fairs, speaking with students and graduates, is if I'm just coming out of school, is somebody going to tell me what to do, or how does this work, or, whatever. And with both of those positions, it's a very heavy training program. And you have a mentor that you're working incredibly closely with throughout this whole entire 2 years. So it's very nice because you're still doing the components of the job, but it's almost like a buddy system where you have somebody there. You're not going to be on your own until you feel comfortable, until you're really ready to be able to take on your own accounts. So those are kind of the 3 common positions. And then of course you can see there under benefits on the right-hand side, just like all the other positions at Department of Revenue. Of course, we offer the health, dental, and vision, the paid holidays, the sick and vacation time. Again, the community service, we're really big on making sure that our employees take advantage of those community service hours that are offered to us by the state. I wanted to share with you.
Heidi, before you transition, there was a question that did come into the chat.
Oh, sure.
And the question was, are the 3 positions currently being talked about entry level or more skilled? I'm assuming those positions you were just referencing.
Oh, yeah. So let me read the question real quick. Oh, okay, perfect. Got it. Yeah. So the positions are all that I was just discussing, all entry level. In fact, I would be willing to bet that the majority that we hire for those 3 roles is actually right out of college. That's not to say if somebody has more experience, they can apply. Of course, we welcome their application, but we do tend to recruit straight out of college for those 3 positions specifically. Thank you for letting me know that there was a question. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course.
Okay. So I wanted to walk you through an event that we have coming up here very soon. This is for the recruitment for our revenue field auditor position. And again, this is the position where you're going to be out in the field. You're not going to be behind a computer very often. You're going to be out there meeting with business owners, meeting with accountants, sometimes even attorneys. Part of that program that I was speaking about earlier, where you have the training program for 2 years, so you do absolutely have at least one mentor / buddy with you when you're first getting started. So I don't want people to think that they apply for this position, they get this position, and then they're going to be out on their own. That is not at all like that. That's something that the department is very big on, is training and development and making sure that employees have the tools that they really need in order to be able to do the job, of course, as efficiently as possible. So getting back to this interview day, we are currently, or we will be recruiting for field auditors. How this interview day works, and I'll kind of walk you through this process, is the interview day itself is on November 1st. There is a registration for the interview day that starts October 10th and will run through the 21st. And the registration obviously is not open yet. We're not on October 10th yet. But once registration opens up, what that looks like is you would be filling out the state application. You would be providing your transcripts with the accounting credit hours. Again, the minimum requirement for this position is 18. If you haven't graduated yet, that's completely fine. We recruit for these positions 6 months out. So if you are, what are we in, September? If you're graduating, for example, in December and you're completing the rest of your accounting credits by then, that's completely fine. As long as you're within 6 months of graduation, that's when we invite you to interview for the auditor positions. So after you register, your application will be screened, your transcript will be reviewed, and then one of our HRBPs, which is Human Resources Business Partners, would reach out to you to schedule you to participate in the interview day, which again is on November 1st. That interview was completely virtual. It's set up the same way it would be if you were in person in a conference room where it is a panel interview. There is a technical component of that as well, which is basically accounting questions to make sure that you have the basic accounting skill set that they're looking for. But anyways, I just wanted to make you aware that that is something that we are looking forward to hosting here right around the corner. And if anyone is interested, I can certainly answer any questions about that event as well.
That event sounds so exciting, Heidi, and you know what my next question is going to be, or at least next request. If you can share that flyer, so I can, of course,
absolutely
spread the word. You know me. Whenever I see a flyer like that,
yeah.
I just can't wait to get my hands on it.
Yes, no, I appreciate that, definitely. I wanted to share information about internships too, if it's appropriate. I wasn't sure, do we have folks on the call that would be interested in hearing about internships? If so, I can certainly talk about them. If not, I won't, because I don't want to. I'd hate to waste anyone's time. Okay, awesome. Good deal. So, okay, thank you. Thank you for responding. I appreciate it. I thought it would be beneficial to give you some information as far as the interns that we had last summer, very likely we'll have this upcoming summer, and walk you through the application process, what that looks like, all that fun stuff. So the internships that we have offered, or that we offered last summer, that we will very likely be offering this upcoming summer, are from these key areas. So we have criminal investigations, okay? We have excise tax and exams, and those three areas that I just spoke to, those are very closely related to those auditing type positions. Looking at kind of like the positions that I just showed you, very similar to those. So if that's something of interest, if you're interested in finance, accounting, auditing, these are areas that you'd probably be interested in as far as an internship goes. And then we also had an intern in human resources, which we will most definitely be having another one of. And then also our submissions processing division and our tax research division. So we have quite a variety. KEO, which is knowledge, education, and outreach. So that area is really unique where they're marketing materials out to the taxpayers. So they're really trying to educate the taxpayers and get in front of any position or any particular issues that might arise, or just even questions that taxpayers have. So that group works on that, which is pretty cool. I also wanted to share with you, last summer we had, like the summer that we just had, at the end of the internship, we did a survey with all of our interns and we asked them what their biggest takeaway was and summaries of the work that they performed. So I just wanted to share a few of those. I thought it would maybe be beneficial for you to get an idea as to what an intern does through their words, and then also some of their big takeaways. So, and I apologize, I am just going to read off of this. There's no way I'd ever be able to memorize this, and I didn't want to discount any of what they said. So the first one, she was a marketing student from East Carolina University. She worked in human resources, and the summary of work performed, she said she worked on LinkedIn Recruiter, creating projects for job vacancies, posting vacancies to various college job boards. And her biggest takeaway was working for a state government agency can feel like you see your coworkers and directors daily despite being online, and that you don't have to work on site to be the most efficient you can be. I love the environment and overall culture of the agency. So in her role, she was completely hybrid. Or I'm sorry, she was completely remote. In fact, we didn't meet in person until I went to an internship event with her, which was kind of cool. But, and that's something too, I should have mentioned, that we do offer events for our intern interns throughout the summer. So we did a lunch and learn with Secretary Penny, which was really neat. It was just the interns and Mr. Penny and the intern supervisors who came together, had lunch, and he just talked the talk all about DOR, which was really fun. So we did that. And then we also did a tour of submissions processing, which for those of you that don't know, which probably don't, I didn't know this until I started working at the Department of Revenue. That's where, when you do your tax returns, that's where they go. So regardless if you file electronically or you return something in the mail, they have this huge area that tracks everything that comes in. So we had a very thorough tour of that part of the department, which was, it was very interesting to see the kind of behind the scenes to, okay, once I return that, then what happens? So that was really cool for the students to see as well. And then we also did an event with all of the interns. That was a virtual event where they really just got to meet each other and talk about the projects they were working on, talk, anything that they had to share about their internship. Was really meant more for them for a networking opportunity than anything else. So that is what the responsibilities of the HR intern was. Another one that I wanted to share was from our criminal investigations area. The intern was studying finance with a concentration in personal financial management. He came to us from Western Carolina University, and he said, I worked on a lot of cases. I analyzed financial reports. I audited sales and use tax and withholding tax. And he said his biggest takeaway was understanding the importance of the little things and that all the details matter. Coming from a financial background, I understand that numbers really matter, and a little change in a single number can mean a big difference for a company. Very spot on. And then I wanted to share this one too real fast. This is from our KEO area, which again is Knowledge, Education, and Outreach. She said, I've worked on a marketing schedule for social media and video advertising, who the Department of Revenue is, and what we do. I've done lots of graphic design work and offered feedback on my team members' work as well. And she was studying economics from App State. And the biggest takeaway, she said, this internship has taught me so much about what it's like to work on a professional team. It's been awesome to use the skills that I have learned in school and be able to apply them to real world situations. I hope I can work at DOR after graduation. Very sweet. Yeah. So I have tons of those, but I won't read every single one of them to you. But there's a lot. There's a nice variety. For us, we start recruiting for interns in January of 2023 for the summer of 2023. If you know right now, the second you're thinking, I just want an internship at DOR, this sounds great, something I'm interested in, I can give you an email address of where you can send your resume to, because we do start to get resumes about this time of the year for next summer, so I'm happy to share that. Or I can put it in the chat even if need be.
Quick question, Heidi, not to interrupt. Yeah. So these are separate from the State of North Carolina internship program?
Yes.
Perfect. Good.
Yes.
Good. I was hoping you would say that. Okay.
Yep, you got it. You awesome. Got it. Yeah, of course.
I'm sorry, and one last question.
Oh, no.
And these are all paid?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, these are all paid. They're all all of our internships at DOR are $15 an hour. Perfect. It doesn't matter what area you're in. I will say that they can be either in person, so in the building, which would be headquarters, which is downtown Raleigh, or they can be virtual, or they can be a hybrid of the two. For the majority of the internships, the internship supervisor really lets the intern decide what they're most comfortable with. There might be a rare occasion where somebody says, you know what, I really need somebody to be in the office a few days a week, and then they can be virtually the rest of the time. But our managers are very laid back about the work schedule and what the intern feels most comfortable with.
That's amazing.
Right?
You hear that, folks? Flexibility. We like flexibility.
Yes, that is, yes, we have a lot of flexibility, which is great. I just want to make sure there's not anything that I wanted to share before we go for questions. I think I think that's what I wanted to let you guys know about. I mean, those are the main things I really wanted to share. I will say something that I think really sets Department of Revenue apart again, and I know I've said this probably roughly 10 times, but I want just everyone to remember is the work-life balance is huge. We talk to, oftentimes we go to colleges or maybe it's a virtual event, and a lot of times people are looking at, or students are starting to look at, different accounting positions. And unfortunately, a lot of times in the private industry, when it comes tax time, that's when hours significantly increase. And one thing that I like to share with students is at DOR, that's not the case. Your work schedule is still your work schedule, whether that's 9 to 5, 8 to 4, whatever it is, your 40-hour work week. It does not change or heighten when we are at tax time, which is pretty cool and very unique for that industry. So just wanted to share that. Does anyone have any questions?
That is, I have to comment because you will not hear that outside of state government, because just from the level of commercials around tax season, and you see, the folks in the various, I don't want to call them costumes. I know that sounds very crude, but outside
Right.
the very, the tax offices with their signs and stuff, like even they're working overtime.
Right, exactly.
Advertising, those businesses and things like that. But to still state that us state employees, us public servants, we still put in the 40 hours no matter what. I tell you, if that is not a selling feature, I don't know what else is.
I know.
Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. And I'm going to put in the chat the email for internships. Let me do that right now. Thank you for asking.
And remind me, Heidi, because I know obviously what everyone in the call doesn't know, we have worked together in the past. In the past, I know typically it's just been you email the resume to either yourself or a representative in DOR. Remind me, do you guys typically post the job description on the website, or is it generally you just email the job descriptions out to those candidates or applicants that may be interested?
So I would love to say that they all get posted. I would love to say that, but realistically, they likely will not all get posted. There's a couple of reasons for that, but one is we actually get a lot of students coming to us, which is we're very grateful for.
That's amazing.
We get a lot of referrals from previous interns, which is, I think, speaks a lot to DOR that they're going to refer their friends or family members. So sometimes we might have to do that where we're posting, but a lot of times we don't, because we don't.
That's great. Okay.
Actually have to. I'm also going to put in the chat an email address. If anyone has questions about the event that we are doing, or registration information, or if whatever it might be surrounding that event, I'm putting Erin's email. We're gonna call it interview day. Or even if you want her to send you the link to register once it's available and live, she can do that as well once we're at that point, which I believe is the 10th. Yes, October 10th. So Donna is for internships, and then Erin for the interview day.
And you recommend for someone who is about to graduate to start applying within 6 months out, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Yes, Karen? You have your hand up, I think.
Oh, I think.
Yes. Sorry, this is Karen.
You're fine.
I kind of did have a question. So I know you did go over like a lot of the positions are like hybrid, in office or remote, but because like I guess why I'm kind of curious is I'm located in the Charlotte region, and so say if we're looking at like a remote or hybrid, well, I guess a remote position, do we still need to be within like a certain radius
Nope.
of the Raleigh office?
No, not at all. The only time you have to be in a certain radius is if it's a hybrid position and you would need to then live a certain radius from wherever that position's home is. But if it's a remote position, no. And in fact, we have folks that live outside of North Carolina now too. So great question. That's a really good question, but no, you don't have to be.
Okay. All right, good to know because
Yeah, of course.
yeah, because unfortunately, like I can't really leave region because I do have to take care of some family members, and so that's
Sure.
just was always like a concern. It's
Absolutely.
like I can't unfortunately move too far out. And I guess one additional thing, I know you
Yeah.
guys did mention these positions are more tailored towards like recent graduates or those that are like currently in school. Um, but then I just kind of thought of my scenario where I'm actually kind of a different place.
Sure.
So I had actually already finished my bachelor's about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And then I'm in like economics and environmental science.
Yep.
And then now I'm currently back into school for accounting.
Oh, good.
So I guess in terms of this, is it recommended, I guess, someone in my scenario to still apply to these positions, or would it be better
Oh,
for me
yeah.
to like kind of look towards something
Oh, no, no,
else?
no. Still apply. Very
Okay.
much still apply. Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely still apply. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
especially
you.
if you're going back. It sounds like you're going back for, you said accounting?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a perfect fit, actually. Yeah.
I'm trying to
Mhm.
pivot because right now I'm in the brokerage and underwriting private sector. And so
Yeah.
I had been thinking a lot about just making a pivot to a different like sector or division.
Sure.
And so that's just kind of where I'm at the moment.
No, that's great. Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
Great.
Karen, we would
Thanks.
love to have you come over and join state government.
Yes, there you
Uh,
go. Thank you.
I mean, I've been considering it for years. It's just more of like, I guess pre-COVID, I unfortunately
Yeah.
just couldn't really stay within like Raleigh area. Because I lived in Chapel Hill for 4 years when I went to school there.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so I unfortunately I just kind of had to move back for family. Um,
Sure.
and so at that point it was just mostly like hybrid or remote
Yeah.
positions that I was open to. But I'm glad to hear that things might open up. So you definitely will be seeing me for sure.
No, that's wonderful. That's great.
All right. But that's all the questions I have so far. And I'm sorry for taking the mic for so long. If anyone
Oh,
else wants
goodness,
to ask
no.
questions.
You're fine.
All right. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you
no, we
so much.
appreciate the questions. Of course. You're welcome.
Are there any more questions, thoughts, or comments?
And I know that was a lot of information that I just went through at you guys. So I apologize, but anytime anyone wants to know something, I'm like, sure, here's everything. Amanda, it looks like you maybe have a question.
Do you by chance know what the radius is if we applied for a hybrid position? Because I live about an hour away from Raleigh.
Yeah, I want to say it's 60 miles from whatever, like basically whatever office is closest to your home, whether if that's Raleigh or whichever. We have 11 offices across the state, so depending on where you're at. But yeah, I believe it's 60-mile radius
Is there
if
a
it's a
link
hybrid.
or a website where we can locate that I can share that with Amanda so she can kind
Yeah,
of do like a check with her home?
sure. Actually, I can put it in the chat if that's
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah, that may be helpful for everyone.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. There you go.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Of course.
I tell you, even for us state employees, attending these sessions has been so valuable. We were sharing earlier how we even learned things as well, like even this aspect, had no idea. We was attending the commerce and state controller yesterday. Nuggets here and there. I was like, wow, did not know. So even for
Right.
us, it's not just for, students or other folks or
Sure.
alumni or folks who are looking for positions. Folks who work for state government are still learning things about
absolutely.
state government too. So even this aspect here, did not even know.
Yeah, I know.
Didn't
I
even
hear
know
ya.
at all. Mm-mm. Any other questions or comments? I see some bubbles down below.
Oh, good, good.
Glad it's very helpful. Oh. Any other questions or comments for the good of the group before we close out? And we send our many thanks to Heidi here. All right, I believe Heidi did put her email in the chat. I believe you did. Did you?
I didn't? No, but I will. I will. Here we
Forgive
go.
me.
No, you're good. I did put a couple of emails in the chat, but I haven't put my own, but here we go.
Oh, there she goes. She's going to put it in the chat. Oh, I see another. Okay, just people sending out their thank yous and appreciations. I'm assuming there's no more questions and things like that. So please feel free to follow up with any additional questions or comments to Heidi, especially with all of those amazing resources she provided earlier today. But again, Heidi, thank you so much. As always, it is a pleasure. Of course, I will follow up because you gave a lot of great nuggets that I would like to use myself to share with some of the things that we're connected with later on this year. But folks, that is it for today as far as the Department of Revenue State Agency meet and greet. Like I said, I will be politely sending you a very short survey right after this meeting here. Please fill it out. We would love to get your feedback. This is the first time we are offering something like this, and we want to see if we should continue doing it. If it works, we're going to keep on offering it. If it doesn't work, you know what? We may not do it again because we want to see if it's a good fit for the population that we're trying to serve. We are public servants, so the population we're serving is our fellow North Carolinians. So you are our people we are servicing. So either way, we're glad that you came out. Thank you again. Please anticipate an email from me. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone, and we shall talk soon. Thank you again.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you being here. And thank you, Andrea.
Oh, of course.
Have a good day.
You do the same.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye now.